Good morning, everyone. This is Sherman Crancer, your partner development manager for Microsoft. I want to say thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to kind of, wait a couple minutes here, but while we have a few more people coming on, but we got a great show today. We're going to be talking about CRM with probably two of out of the three partners that we have, two of the biggest, the titans of sales and industry, titans of CRM per se, and what we want to do is get into it right away here. We have our Microsoft cups just for placement. I think we have that. Thank you very much, Walter. Appreciate it.
Buy now.
All right. First thing, what we're going to do, we have some announcements that we want to cover here. We're going to talk about strategy, business process, focus, and then we'll have Terry from the back office. So today we're going to introduce two of good friends of mine. One's a partner in our portfolio, and then another is a leader in the industry when it comes to sales and marketing. So first and foremost, I'll start with Eric. Eric, can you just introduce yourself and what you do for partners and kind of how you approach things?
Perfect. Thanks, Sherman. Hi, everybody. This is Eric Klaus. My company's Partner Source Solutions. We help companies implement business process through technology. So we focus heavily on customer relationship management. I've been working with customer relationship management systems and implementing them and recommending them for companies going back to the mid-90s, before Microsoft had CRM and many other products that were out there today existed. So it's been a long career for me in the industry.
Great. Well, thank you. Also, we have here Walter Fawcett from Fawcett Technology Advisors. And, Walter, please introduce yourself to the group and what you specialize in.
Yeah, well, thank you, Sherman. So our focus is primarily helping, the roots of our company are helping lower middle market companies deal with technology decisions. And especially those companies are growing. And this is where we started to get into application development, and we also started to get into the CRM space. And that's pretty much our sole focus now, is implementing dynamic CRM for companies that are growing and helping them through both the business process challenges, the adoption challenges, and then of course the technology challenges.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Hey, Terry, you mind just go ahead and jumping on right now, unmute your mic and let the group know, in case somebody here doesn't know what you do. I'd appreciate you letting everyone know that. Just go ahead and off mute yourself. I think you're on mute right now. Well, Terry is our Chief Operating Officer for our group, and he'll be on here in just a moment. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our next thing is really the announcements here that we want to cover for everyone. On the announcements, the first one is Azure Boot Camp. We're going to go ahead and send out a email a little bit later on today. It's going to be, there's two locations. I think we're going to have one in Irvine, so it's actually pretty close for the Northern California partners and the Southern California partners, and then one in San Francisco, but that's going to be really late in the year. And it's going to be in February, and what it's going to be is going to be 4 to 5 days where you want to send down the latest, your engineers to really learn about how to implement Azure in your environments or for your customers. So it's really important to take a look at. Next is the Partner Investment Engine demo. I wanted to quickly go over with you. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I'll go ahead and minimize this. I'm going to share my screen here. 1 second. As soon as we get going. And then we're going to kind of go into the Azure, the calculator. So 1 second. You're going to love having Skype issues when we're not having them. All right. Well, that is getting really frustrating. All right. Well, we have dead air here. So, we're going to come back to this as soon as I can get this figured out. Let's go ahead and get right into our the next thing. We'll talk about the show in just a few minutes. I'm going to have to figure that out while we're talking strategy. So, on the strategy side, one of the first things we want to do is just kind of get into, the business practices and kind of, what our esteemed guests really understand. And so the first thing is what I want to do is kind of just ask first, Walter, let's go with you. Tell us a little bit about how you started your company and, what were your initial strategic goals?
So when I started the company, the main focus was helping companies in the lower middle market that didn't have a technology executive, so they didn't have a CIO, help them make better technology decisions. And oftentimes people would ask me what I do, and I was like, well, I'm a technology psychologist. I help business owners develop a better relationship with their technology. And but really that was about helping kind of bridge that gap between business issues, people issues, and technology issues. And eventually that led down the space into the CRM world. And the real focus for me on the CRM side at that point was we need to be good. The quality has to be high. We have to make sure that our clients are getting good value. Mm-hmm. And as we do that, once we've established a reputation, established the technology expertise, and we can deliver good solutions, then we can scale. And so it's much more of a delivery first focus than it was a sales and marketing focus.
Got it. Cool. Well, thank you so much. Mm-hmm. Eric, help us out with that same question. How did you start? What was the idea?
So, I started PartnerSource to leverage, I'd worked in this business, as I said before, for 20 years. So when I started PartnerSource, it was to, go out on my own, to start from the standpoint of having worked for other partners, mm-hmm. Having sold CRM and ERP solutions for the last 20 years. It was that light bulb moment of, hey, I can do this on my own, and to hang my own shingle out there. And so that was kind of the starting point for going into the market that's out there. But it's evolved from there as well, as we see the revolution, I guess, or the revelation of the fact that clients are, in many cases, especially in the SMB market that Walt was talking about, they're maybe not ready for CRM right away. There are some fundamental steps that they need to do before they get to that point. And so one of the things that evolved for us was to focus on sales and marketing business process consulting, because the organizations need some of that before they can even really deploy a solution. They, in many cases, don't have business processes. They don't have them identified. They don't know what they want to be doing. They certainly don't have best practices. And so a big part of our business now has been sort of that pre-CRM, pre-marketing automation types of implementations, where we sit down with that CEO and begin the process of working with them to understand their business and look at how they bring the technology in and what the business processes that are going to be reflected in those tools need to be.
Got it. Well, let me ask you this. In your first year, as opposed to your, the fifth year and whatnot, how did it change? How did your approach to the business change? Did you, or has it stayed the same, or help me out and understand that?
Well, I think there's, at least for my company, there's really two first years. There was the first year of the company, and then there was the first year of the Dynamics CRM practice. Mm-hmm. And they were kind of both the same, which was figure out the market space, get enough revenue to justify the expense, so break even, make a little bit of money. But it was just, it was about customer acquisition, and it was about understanding the marketplace and understanding what the customer need in order to be successful and to grow their business and to drive value. And that was pretty much the first year.
The first year?
Yeah.
As I said, for us, the big shift there was, on the one hand, we went out there, we hung out the shingle, hey, we're a Dynamics partner, and we picked up some clients going down that path. But as I said, the big shift for us was the revelation that there are clients who really need some support and some services before they even begin that implementation. And so that opened the door to some other opportunities, and we've actually found that that's really grown to be a significant part of the business now, is that, pre-CRM consulting, pre-marketing automation consulting that lays the foundation for bringing the technology in.
Okay, so let's back up here just for a second here, Eric. What you're doing for a lot of partners right now, and very successfully, might I add, and that's kind of why I wanted to have you on here, is you work with partners on the sales strategy and building businesses. What are some of the things that you bring to the table, or what are like some of the first questions that you might be asking?
Well, thanks, Sherman. I actually have an audit that I do with clients as part of the initial engagement. It's about a 30-question sales and marketing process audit that we go through with them. And so there's a lot of things that we find out when we go through that process. For example, one of the things that I frequently find is, we were talking about, that they don't have a plan for marketing. So what are they doing around marketing? Do they have even any kind of an identified budget, or is it just we spend whatever we think sounds right? And so part of the advice that I frequently end up with is look at a franchise model. If you are a McDonald's, for example, gross sales of your McDonald's, 3% of that goes back to the McDonald's headquarters for marketing on behalf of you as a franchisee. If you look at other organizations, Meineke, the famous muffler folks, it's 10% for them. So one of the things that I advise clients on frequently is to look at, how are you budgeting for your marketing? And especially this time of year, we see so many companies and so many partner organizations that are beginning their 2018 strategic planning, or hopefully they are, but they still don't know what their marketing budget's going to be. So this is a great way to at least come up with some kind of a number to identify what that budget should be for next year, and then start to figure out from there, what are we going to do with it? But the first step is to come up with some dollars and cents.
Yeah, I think that's your points are really good there, and I think in our group we have a lot of MSPs that are out there that see businesses that are on this growth cycle and getting companies ready to implement a product like CRM. If they don't have a process, which is frequently the case, they need to get a process before you can automate or implement that. And one of the funniest questions is when you ask a CEO of a small business, so how does your marketing department or marketing person work with your sales department? And they look at you like you have three eyes, and they're like, well, they just do trade shows and send out email blasts, and salespeople, they're selling. I'm like, well, did they talk? Do you have any metrics to see what's what's working and what's not? And they just look at you like, what do you mean?
Yeah, and where are potential gaps in those processes?
Yeah,
those are the things that you start to discover that they don't realize, and that's one of the things that we've seen when we do that sales and marketing audit, is the light bulb moment for them as they realize that they don't have those processes, to your point, or if they do have some processes, there are potentially big gaps in there, and we've got to look at how we close those. So, yeah.
How do you? I noticed that we do have a lot of partners that have a pretty good focus on sales or marketing, but they don't have a lot of salespeople, right?
Sure.
And then they also kind of wonder, like, well, how do I get leads? Okay, right? And I'd like to know, I want to just kind of extrapolate this on the marketing side of it. Is the commitment to a marketing plan and a marketing spend important to building the business if they don't have a sales force?
So you're talking about a scenario where they're a small partner. They have they are the salesperson themselves, as well as potentially the delivery side also. Yeah. Okay. I think you still have to commit to. Look, if you're in business, part of your reason for being in business is to grow. So how are you going to do that? And there's a marketing expenditure that I think is required, and it goes back to that, whatever that percentage is, come up with it, whether it's 3% or 10%, that's, you're going to make those decisions as a business owner. But there's some marketing expenditure that I think you need to identify and come up with a plan around it. The simplest thing is, are you going to go to Microsoft Inspire? That's part of your marketing plan. and that's a significant expense if you're a small practice like that. But, we look at, there are a lot of value pieces that come from attending Inspire. Just the networking element alone and the relationship building with Microsoft that comes out of going to Inspire. But it's not an insignificant cost. You're looking at a couple of $1,000s just for your badge to go to Inspire, and then obviously some travel-related expenses on top of that. So, I did that when I started Partner Source. That was actually, I think I'll go so far as to say, I think that was the first major expense that I coughed up for Partner Source. Was I bought the badge to go to Inspire, and I bought it late. I was just weeks away from the event, so I paid top dollar for that thing. I paid over $2,000, I think, to go, and then on top of that, the travel expenses. So I think I was out of pocket probably $4,000 by the time I was all said and done to go out to Inspire. But the networking that you get from that, the relationship building that you get from that, I think is invaluable. So, certainly I'll recommend that out there for partners if they have been on the fence or if they've never been and don't understand why do I want to go. I'm happy to have those conversations with folks as well. But I think, that's just, one of those examples where it's one of those things that I think you should be certainly budgeting for at this point for next year.
Cool. So do you have a marketing budget, Walter?
Yes, I have a budget for marketing. It's we're a smaller company, so we don't. I sit down and I plan with myself. But I think the having marketing expenditures and having a budget for it and having a plan for how you intend to use that money is really important, because the plan is your frame of reference. And if you don't have a plan, then you have really no way to evaluate, am I achieving the goals that I have for myself? And I think it's essential, because at the end of the day, if you want to grow a business, which at the end of the day, when there's a lifestyle business and there's a growth business, and if you want a lifestyle business, you may not need a lot of marketing. But if you want to grow your business, you can be the founder owner, but 6 months, a year, 5 years from now, you can't do everything. Otherwise, your company won't grow. And also, it helps you have more control over your future. Mm-hmm. If you're not marketing, if you're relying upon Microsoft for leads, or you're relying upon a very small source for your leads, if that goes away or that changes, your business could be at risk. And again, as you grow, you got a greater nut every month. That payroll gets big, and the other expenditures that you have that are fixed, they get big. And so you need to make sure that you have a steady flow of revenue, and having your own marketing, your own brand, and the ability to push on that when you want to is really important to grow a company. So I would encourage any company that's out there, if you don't have, a friend of mine, there's a quote that if a goal without a plan is just a dream. And so if you just want to get lucky, then go for it. But if you really want to be able to have controlled growth and be able to sleep at night, is you got to have that plan. You got to know what you're spending, what you're trying to do with it. Is it working? Is it not? Then you can adjust more effectively.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for those thoughts, both of you here. Kevin, if you could put up my screen, the demo, I think, is going to be working here just once. Actually, let's go ahead.
Eric, was that your vacation home over there?
Yeah. Okay, go. There we go. 1 second. Perfect. Okay, so now we have the Microsoft Partner Investment Engine, and this is really what I wanted to cover from the very beginning. As you probably noticed, I was a little flustered, right? Because all of a sudden, Skype for Business wouldn't work, and it froze up on me, and then I couldn't get out of Skype for Business, and I'm asking these gentlemen some good questions, right? And it just wouldn't work. I had to restart my computer while these guys were talking. The reason why I'm telling you this is that between you and me and the 50,000 other people who are going to see this one day, you can't get flustered when you're on camera. You have to be able to just kind of fake it and fake the fact that you're totally prepared and nothing's having a problem. All right, so let's get into it. Welcome to the Partner Investment Engine portal. We can go ahead and expand this one, Kevin. So It'll be easier for everybody to see it. So you go up to MicrosoftPartnerInvestments.com. And when you get to here, you're going to say, okay, gosh, I haven't accessed. Well, I want to just sign in. So go ahead and sign in. And when you get to this page, you're going to go ahead and put in, I'm a partner. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm a Microsoft employee because that's going to help me get into it. All right. And the reason we're looking at this, okay. Oh, Allie, what you need to do is actually hide or lock the spotlight or hide the stage, and you'll actually be able to see the full picture of it. So hide the stage right in the middle. All right, so now we're at the Partner Investment Engine portal. We've logged in, and the very simple thing you want to do is just go to Apply for Funding. Very simple. And then when you're applying for funding, we want to go ahead and put on the left-hand side the Partner Investment Engine PI program funding. We do not want to go over here, so we'll go there. And this is where your market development funds are. And we're going to show you how easy it is to submit for our Azure Everywhere. So we've been talking about Azure Everywhere, almost on every single call. And with Azure Everywhere, it's pretty simple. You get $1,500 for $1,000 a month in an opportunity, or $3,000 for a $2,000 a month opportunity, and it's just to actually have the meeting. So you basically go over here. It says Azure Everywhere. You're going to go ahead and click on that one. And then it's going to bring you to the details page about Azure Everywhere. And these are the things you're going to need to have. Customer contact name, customer address, customer phone number, customer contact title. All this this is pretty easy, right? Pretty easy to do. So we'll go ahead and get started. And the next thing that is going to be coming here is starting the application process. So you're going to put in the customer name. It's probably not going to be on the major account list. If it's on the major account list, it'll automatically populate here. You'll put it in, you search it, you'll go ahead and do it. But most of our clients are going to be SMB. So we'll just add a new customer, right? You'll put, check this box, and then we'll put in the customer name. So as you can see here, we put in customer name, new customer name. We'll put in the address. You do not need to know the TPID. It doesn't make any sense. The customer phone number, really important. Customer email address, really important. Funding date, so that's when you're going to have the actual the appointment. But take a look at this. So normally when it comes up, when I'm not having memory issues, there you go. All right, it's going to ask you when you're going to actually start it. So we'll go ahead and start it like on the 13th. Perfect. Okay, funding date. And then what it's basically going to do is give you the 211 to complete the actual the meeting, right? Microsoft deal contact. This you'll not need to. You'll actually put in my name, Sherman Crancer, or S Crancer is my alias, and then the opportunity ID. This is something that really confuses a lot of people, and this is exactly what you put in there. SMB opportunity. Pretty simple, right? Okay, perfect. And then the industry, you could just put in, let's say it was retail. Okay, perfect. Description of services. You're going to have to go ahead and do, blah, blah, blah. Associated campaign. You'll basically put in, one of these in here. We can put in modernized traditional apps or DC migration, cloud app hackfest. Put in a campaign. Select the workload option that you're going to be talking about. And you can be talking about any one of these things, right? So it's really Azure. And I would put Azure fundamentals would probably be the best way to do it. Opportunity size, pretty simple. $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month. Very, very simple. Okay, next you'll go into the agreement and then you just push the next button. As you can see, I've missed all the applications here, but or these little things, and it'll make you do that. After you get into it, it's just going to review it and it's going to be asking you, hey, are you okay with this? You submit this, under, you have to sign the document because that's how we do it. And we spot check you. We spot check these probably 1 out of every 100 or I have no idea. So it could be 1 out of 10. It could be. So don't take when I said 100, 1 out of 100. But the important thing is this is how we can do it for being a partner. All right. So let's get into the next one. It's really about focus. Okay, so in this day and age, it's very difficult to kind of find focus. How do you define that? And number two, how do you apply that to your business processes, or kind of how you manage your own business, or how you help partners manage it? So, Walter?
Yeah, I think that's a tremendously important one for me, and it took me a while to figure out what the focus of the business should be, and we experimented with a couple things, and eventually came to the decision or the realization that CRM is a great platform to focus on, but the challenge is there's a whole technology ecosystem, especially in SMB. Your clients will have needs ranging from the desktop all the way to the back end and applications and infrastructure. And if you don't stay focused, you end up not being profitable in anything and not being good at anything. And so I think there's a couple things. One is just having the discipline not to go down areas that you shouldn't go. And then it's also having a good partner network and partners in the sense of other companies and other individuals that you have a relationship with, that you trust, that you know their strengths and weaknesses, so that you can call the right partner in to help your client get to their goal. And that part of it's essential. And but for me, I found that, and that's it's one of the challenges really, the Microsoft ecosystem, is there's so much there, and there's a lot of moving parts, and you want to. If you're very customer driven, you want to solve your customer's problem. You respond. I think culturally, if someone asks you a question, you answer, and if they ask you to do something, you do, and you just have the discipline not to do that without some thought.
So I echo Walt's sentiments there. We're constantly pulled in multiple directions. You have clients who pull you into managed services or other types of applications. I think for us, we've been fortunate because we've been part of the IAMCP, the International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners. I'm the current president for the IAMCP SoCal. So what that's given us is a real pool of partners to work with. And so we've got amazing partners. So if a client comes in and they want help with SharePoint, we've got amazing SharePoint partners. If a client needs custom app dev, I know I've got partners that I can leverage who have that as their primary business. That's their skill set. That's not just something that they dabble in. So really, it gives us the ability to address the larger Microsoft ecosystem by bringing good partners to the table for those and keeping us focused on just what we do well.
Got it. That's awesome.
And then, in terms of you had asked about, how we help partners. I think a lot of what we're doing for partners is helping them stay focused on the sales and marketing side. And that's a big chunk of what we're doing today, is by just scheduling a regular ongoing, call with them. So we have, monthly contracts in some cases where literally when I get done here today, for example, I'm going to be meeting with a partner in Lake Forest, and they are focused on growing out their business. And part of what we're providing for them is exactly that, is the focus, so that we have a regular every Friday meeting on what do we need to do next week, and what are we doing around sales and marketing. So we've got some efforts that I'm engaged in with them right now around video recording, and next week we're actually going to be doing some video recording with them to start putting some content together, some video content, because they've never done that before. So leveraging from the master here and working with Sherman for many, many years now. Video content is incredibly important in today's world, and so we're beginning that process with this particular client, and they are a partner.
That's awesome. All right, so we have a poll up here. How do we focus? I choose to create lists to ensure I am focused. Next one is I'm a one-person focus machine, so focused on tasks. So I focus on tasks that I often find myself lost in thought and forget to eat. I have ADD. Enough said. I am the worst at focus, and if I could, I would delegate this to someone. Wait, what am I talking about? I find myself doing that sometimes. I mid-sentence, I turn somewhere else, whatever. Then in what is focus? Does that mean I finished tasks? So looks like most of us are doing, creating lists, and that's awesome. That's awesome. I think that's fantastic. Let's go ahead and get back into another question. how do you help your employees stay focused? How do you, I know I got ADD, like it's out of control, but with your employees, what do you do? What are some of the things?
I think that's one of the challenges, especially from a profitability perspective, as well as a customer service perspective, and hitting your deadlines and your budgets, is keeping your staff focused. And so we've done a couple things. One is we've built out our own project management system inside of CRM. And then we've kind of adopted an agile methodology where we'll have our weekly sprint planning, and we'll talk about what's on the docket for this week. We'll do daily stand-ups on, okay, here's what the plan was for the week. How are you doing? Any issues? And here's some new things. What are you working on today? To make sure that everyone understands the kind of the priorities of the week or of the day. And then I think the other part when it comes to the team is building a collaborative culture, so that when someone is working on something, if they get stuck, they feel like they have resources they can go to. They know where to go get help, so they don't get stuck either going down a rabbit hole where they're never going to find the answer, but the person sitting right next to them knows that answer like that. Yeah. And so a lot of it is, it's part process and management of the process, and then it's part culture building and building the relationships on the team and hiring the right people.
Eric, focus has got to be something that you run into a lot, because you're running into a lot of different companies.
Sure.
And you're helping them, right? And we would have to say that we should probably make this statement that it's very easy for a person who is running a business to say, well, okay, I heard what you said. Yeah, I got to do that. However, I just got a call. I got to go fix this. I got to go do an email. Help us understand that.
I think, it really is time management, a big chunk of that. To Walt's point, part of this is communication. So what I've always found is having that regular scheduled, and I think you talked about that, having that regular scheduled meeting with your team, so that becomes, an absolute. We always have that, unless there is some insane reason we're not going to do it. But otherwise, you hold that. And I've always found Fridays and Mondays, that at the end of the day, it's either Friday or Monday that you do that meeting, and you dedicate that time, because it's critically important to the business, just to keep everybody on track for what's going to happen in the following week or the following, if you can get to that point where you're even starting to look out, what do we have coming down the pipeline? What are we going to be able to do? What are we going to need to do a month from now? I know for a lot of practices that's a fantasy world of, I'd like to get to that point. We're struggling with managing, just week to week. But, I think to some degree you do need to look at those things. We were talking about this before we started the recording today, but what's the implication if we close this deal over here? What are the resources that we're going to need for that? And what does that mean for the support of our existing clients? And so you have to be able to start to take those things into account and be proactive about it as well. And so, that sort of forethought and planning going into those sessions, I think, becomes incredibly important also.
I think, and again, I'm thinking also, I think we're relatively unique, or the minority in this group, in the sense that we're more on the CRM and the application side, and most of the partners that are in this group are managed service providers. But at the end of the day, it's really the same. It's about process. It's about building a process so that the business can scale without you as the owner having to watch everything that goes on. Okay. And you can, the system will tell you when things are going out of band, and then you can have your regular checkpoints so you can manage the team efficiently.
All right, so I appreciate that. Can everybody hear what we're talking about right now? Because I'm getting a lot of messages saying that we cannot hear you.
Uh-oh.
And it is all about Skype for Business here. Let's see. Can you guys hear? This has got to be the toughest. Hey, we're back. Dude, this is the worst day ever. Oh my gosh. We've done like over 70 shows counting back to 2016. Yeah. And we've never had this many problems ever. All right. Hey, let's get into business process. Okay. Because let's get into what I think is your sweet spots, and I think is really good to start. So how would you explain business process, to a customer that does not have a CRM today?
Well, so I don't know that you can explain it to them if they don't already know, but really what you're looking for is the natural way a company's business flows. And there's always a process, and sometimes it's not a good process, or maybe very efficient, or there may be multiple processes for the same thing, which makes those kind of companies hard to help. And really, they're not ready to implement CRM, which is kind of Eric's point earlier. And when I see companies like that, I encourage them that maybe you're not ready. You need to get your operations cleaned up. You need to have the desire to want to grow your business and personally make changes in the way you run your business. The technology is not going to help you if there's no commitment from the ownership or from the executives to change the way they do things.
Let's say they had the commitment. And they're like, yeah, I need to do this. People are telling me about this efficiency thing. I know I got to. So then in that process, and the reason why we're saying this is so that some of the partners today can possibly use this to open up conversation. So how would you explain business process and the benefit to a client?
I would say the benefit is visibility and control. So you want visibility into what's happening in your business and the ability to not control like I'm playing chess, but I want the ability to control the direction my business goes. And those are two really big things. And if a business owner doesn't get those, then they're probably not ready and committed for growth. But usually most business owners will be like, yeah, that's one of my big problems is I don't know what my staff is doing. And in order for me to be able to keep things under control, I have to micromanage everything. And that's one of the key benefits of a technology like CRM. If you implement it properly, it starts to track that process and guide the process and make it easier for people to follow a consistent business process. And once you have the consistency of process, then the data is good to look at. And so I'd say those two things. Yeah, if you have clients out there that are struggling with visibility to what's going on in their business, and they would like the ability to control how the business flows better, and they're committed to it, CRM is a great platform, and it can help them a lot. And the nice thing about CRM, it's not like ERP, where ERP it's a 10-year investment, and you got to get in, and there's no partial deployment. It's the whole shebang at once. CRM, it's you can get in and chop off little pieces at a time, and again, what's one of the bigger issues is change management. So when you have companies that are making the investment in the technology, it requires everybody in the company to change. And so you have to manage that process closely, but you can do it in small chunks and bite off little pieces at a time. And you do something and people use it and like, oh, that's great, but now we're doing it this way. It would be even better if we could make these two tweaks. They couldn't see that from their starting point, but once they get past the first hill, they're like, oh, there's a new path out there that we can go. And so, but there's a ton of benefits in it. It's an evolutionary process, and it can be pretty easy to start. And also in that first engagement, you can see, do the business owners, are they really committed? Do they just, again, is it a wish, or is it a real goal that they have a plan to attack?
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I guess I agree with a lot of what Walt was saying. One of the things that I often talk to them about is almost every organization has some kind of process. They just don't identify that the process is there. So when I do workshops and presentations on this topic, frequently what I'll do is say, start with how you sell today, even if you are a one-man shop today. So you go out, you meet with a client. What's your process? What does that look like? And then we'll get back to whether that's the best process or not. But at least it's a starting point for documenting out what that process is for that organization. So, you get a prospect of some kind. Let's take a look at what happens. What do you do in that situation? And then document out what are those steps. Because at least that gives us something that's repeatable. That's one of the biggest challenges that I see for most organizations is they're not consistent in the way that they engage with customers. And so at least documenting out the process and putting that into the CRM solution gives them a way to be consistent with that engagement and make sure, I'll use this example. I was working with a partner just recently, and they didn't reach out to me until after they were pretty well down the path and put a proposal in front of a client. And then we started running into problems with this particular deal. And the reason we ran into problems was because we didn't do basic BANT, budget, access, need, and timeline qualification up front. So most importantly, they missed budget. And so all of a sudden we're getting this feeling like we put a proposal on the table for the client of 25 grand, and the client's quite frankly freaking out a little bit because this was way more than they were expecting. And they hadn't had those conversations with the client. So having a consistent process allows you to make sure before we move to the point of putting a proposal in front of that client, did we at least identify the basic qualifying criteria we should do on every opportunity before we get to the point of investing the time to put a proposal in front of them. And then there were some other missed areas that we got into that didn't happen as well. But really the bottom line of it was the first step of that is your basic qualifying criteria for virtually any opportunity, and they didn't complete that process. So those are things that you look at because it allows you to be consistent in the way that you're going to market at that point, and making sure as a business owner, before we invest the time to get to that stage, because look, if we're putting a proposal in front of a client, there's probably some engagement with our internal resources as well, or time from us if it's us. But one way or the other, we're investing time to put together a proposal. Is it really worth that time investment to put that proposal together if we don't even know if they're qualified to get to that stage? So simple things like that you can do and you should be doing in your CRM tool. So that's just one example of the kind of thing that we do with clients on a frequent basis, is document out what they're doing and then apply that from a consistent standpoint.
I think even like in last week's call, there's the discussion about what's the cost of acquisition for a customer.
Yep.
And again, if you're not tracking that, you don't know. And you, as a manager, and you start to grow your sales department, your sales team, you can start to see who is able to close deals faster and how much money am I spending. And that's a key way companies waste a lot of money is by not qualifying properly. So they spend all this time and money to get to the close, and they lose the deal because they never qualified it up front.
Right.
Wow. So let's extrapolate a little bit on that. While I'm listening to you, I'm thinking to myself, gosh, by being in the CRM field, would you say that it's really helped your ability to sell anything because of the way that you approach qualifying and talking to customers?
Absolutely. I tell people today that I can't understand any business, even if you are a one-person shop today, that doesn't have a CRM solution. If you have customers, it's customer relationship management by the very nature of the description of the product. If you have customers, you have a need for customer relationship management. You need a tool to begin to capture all of that information that you have about your customers. I always say, what's the value of your business? If I was going to come in and I'm going to buy your business, well, what am I buying? I'm buying your customer base. That's a big chunk of what I'm buying. If you don't have all that information in some centralized tool that I can easily leverage, because look, if I'm going to buy your business, part of what I'm buying is the ability to sell to those people something more in the future. If you don't have that information, what's the value to your business? So it's as simple from that standpoint of why do you need a CRM tool? That's why you need a CRM tool. It's right there. And if you're a partner today, these are conversations you can begin having with your customers, and you probably should be having with yourself as well.
Yeah. Walter, what do you think? I mean, has it made you a better salesperson? I mean, or better, maybe not just salesperson. That's a connotation some people don't like to have.
Well, no, I actually think it's kind of funny because sales isn't a 4-letter word. It's a 5-letter word.
It's 5-letter. Yeah, some people
I think what CRM has helped me do is help me be more disciplined about the way that I sell and how I spend my time as it relates to sales and managing sales. And that's really where it comes into play. And again, you think as companies start to scale, if you're a small business, typically the owner or one person is selling, but as you grow, you're going to have a sales team, and so you're going to have a lot of payroll and a lot of expense that's going out for that sales team to be trying to close more deals. And if you don't manage them, another friend of mine, a quote from an Army quote that, the unit does well what the commander checks. And if the commander's not checking or doesn't have the ability to check what the salespeople are doing, you can waste a lot of money. And another thing I think is a valuable asset for a company, think about that. That's a really good analogy, a really good perspective to use when talking to a business owner. Like you're thinking someday maybe about selling your business. What's the value of the business? Well, do you have your customer base? Can you show me a pipeline? Will this business run? Can I sell more of what you do if you, the business owner, are not there?
Yeah.
And then do you have a database of all the people that you're working with?
Yep.
And that's actually from a sales perspective. If you're hiring salespeople, I want to know every single person you talk to, and I want their name, phone number, and email address in my database so that I can market to them if you are no longer with the company.
There's another issue around that, which is that I saw a statistic on this recently, and it's changes over time, but it's averaged out about the same, which I think is fascinating over the many years now that I've watched this. The average tenure of a salesperson in an organization today it's 19 months. So the good news is it went up, because what I used to hear was it was 18 months.
Oh my gosh.
So if you think about that, how many years you're going to be in business, how long it might take. I tell this story, and this goes back many, many years ago, but I had a client. It took me 4.5 years to win that deal. Dealing with the CFO, and when I first talked to him, he didn't have budget, and I won't go into the whole story here, and if anybody wants to hear the whole story, reach out to me. But really the bottom line of it is that in that scenario, fortunately for that organization, I stayed with that organization. I was there for many, many years. So I was able to close that business. Most organizations, you don't have that. And as I said, 19 months average turnover time for a salesperson. So in 4.5 years, you turn that person over 2 to 3 times. If you don't have a system, then what are the odds that you're going to win that business? It's almost zero. If you don't have a tool that's tracking that's keeping track of what engagement we have with that prospect, you don't win that business. Somebody that you talked to 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, is still an opportunity for you. But if nobody's managing it, they're going to do a Google search. Sorry for using that term. They're going to do a search. And they're going to go with somebody else. They're going to go with one of your competitors. So you've got to have a tool to allow you to manage through that process.
A couple quick things before we end this is that we don't have any more call. Oh, no, actually, we have one more call. This is just totally bugging me. I can hear myself in the background. It's unbelievable. It's just making me stop. So we have one more call next week, and that's with Tangent, the great partners over at Tangent. Hannah Smith is going to come here, and Tom Holmes from Tangent. They're actually flying down. I want to put this out to you though. Right directly after this broadcast, we are going to be recording some quick spots for the partners that are here. So Eric and Walt will have some great marketing content to put up on their website. I want to have it all available for all the partners that are in the portfolio. I want to help build your brand, and I think utilizing the resources that we have here. No other Microsoft partner gets this. No other managed partner has the ability to be on this. And I want to ask you questions. We'll do some things on the side, and we'll work with you because I think that's just important. We want to help. I want to help. I want to help build your brand with that. We are at the end of the year, halfway through the year. I'm going to go ahead and send out your snapshot from when we started. Okay, it's the business intelligence model of where you started in July 1st and where you are today. I'll go ahead and send that out to all of the partners. After you have that, take a look at that. Make sure that if you're not on track to hit at minimum, close to 100,000 in CSP, let me know because that is really kind of the threshold to be a managed partner for Microsoft. And we want to make sure that we keep everybody in the group that's in the portfolio in this portfolio. I don't want to have to, down at the end of the year, lose some partners because we didn't hit threshold. So, we're in a good position where we look at it halfway through and say, okay, what kind of plans do we need? What type of help do you need to sell at least or close to 100,000 in CSP? So that's pretty much it. All right, everyone, thank you so much for doing this for us, coming here. I'm going to put up the last thing, in the slide deck, because it's pretty hard to see this right now, but in the slide deck, you will actually have access to all of the contact information. Great people here. We you can contact them. There's Walter is CRM and does a great job for our group. So if you have any CRM projects, contact Walter. Now, if you're looking to build your sales team, or you want a consultation, or you need to have somebody that might be like a C-level type of ad hoc sales manager, sales director, please contact Eric Klaus. He does a great job for a lot of partners, and really do appreciate all he does for the group here. So thank you everyone for dealing with us today. It's not all going to be perfect.
It's Friday, right?
It's Friday.
We'll clean it up in editing, right? We just got to do some editing. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't help that I was gone the last 3 days in Northern California. And by the way, if you're from Northern California and you saw me this week, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to hang out with me. But yeah, man, I just got to laugh. It is what it is, right? We're going to reset, though. We're going to have you guys back in.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone, for joining today. Really do appreciate your time. My name is Sherman Crancer. I'm your partner development manager, and I look forward to seeing you next Friday, and it's going to be flawless. Have a good day. Bye-bye.